Yes, we are live. We are live. Thank you very much, good people, for joining this live stream. So, what I'm going to do, I am going to make you watch a video. I've got two videos that I want you to watch. The number one video that I want you to watch is the judge handing in judgment. Then the second video that I would like you to watch is about the police or the station commander who spoke about the fact that is it no, not station, it is station commander or provincial commissioner. They spoke about the fact that they are still searching for Jocelyn Smith. But in today's video is more about your reaction. What is your reaction? What are your thoughts about everything and anything that happened today? This is the day where you are going to voice out your opinion about everything that happened today. This is the day where you are going to tell me if you are going to tell me if you are satisfied with the outcome, how the judge behaved, the sentence that was handed down. You are also going to listen to the sentence itself, and you are going to comment and tell me your thought. This is where you and I got to talk about this matter. So, two videos that are coming up, but let me read this comment. I am in love with your perspective, even though you don't read my comment because I tell too much truth. No, I don't see. You know, guys, let me tell you this. If I don't read your comments, it is simply because I did not see that comment or it did not appear, especially when I'm doing live stream. If I don't read your comment, please understand it's not because I hate you. It's not because I've got anything against you. Like, I swear to God, I read everybody's comment. I always say everybody is allowed to disagree with me as long as you disagree respectfully. I will read your comment. Even if you disagree with what I'm saying, as long as you are saying it in a respectful manner. So I'm trying to say, if I don't read your comment, it is simply because I did not see your comment. But other than that, guys, I read every comment. Please, it's not because I really hate you or I've got anything against you. It's simply because that comment will not have appeared. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry about that. Nonetheless, let us now go into today's proceeding. And please pay attention to that, because I am going to ask you to tell me your thought and your opinion about it. Let's now dive into it. Listen to this.
I indicated last week that I will entertain applications for leave to appeal today. On reflection, I've decided against it. I solicited the views of the practitioners, but I got no feedback as I'm sitting here, but that's fine. And the reason for that is, firstly, I expect once I've dealt with a sentence, there will be a lot of tension, and I want the public then to leave the room, but if we go into leave to appeal, it's going to be difficult. Furthermore, when I thought about the sentence last night and the type of offences that the accused were convicted of, it might be that the defence will need time to reflect on the application and the state to respond thereto, so that I can properly consider the application. So the process will be that the defence, if they so wish, can file their applications within the times prescribed in the rules, whereafter the state can respond and we can then set a time and a place for the leave to appeal. Normally, the presence of the accused is not necessary for the application to be heard, and we can schedule that at our convenience in Cape Town, and I can hear the arguments on that. So I'll complete the sentence portion, and then I will adjourn. Good. I do not have a written judgment on sentence. I have a few notes. So I cannot anticipate how long it will be, but I do not intend taking a break. As an introduction, I thought it would be appropriate to repeat the expression of gratitude that I did when I delivered the judgment in the main case. So for purposes of the record, it should be incorporated herein. But having said that, it also dawned on me the effect this matter had on this community. And the need may be that for those decision makers that can have an impact on the community's access to justice, to look at the way forward, as I'm aware that members of this community has to travel to get to a courtroom in Vredenburg. And I'm looking up there and I recognize the Minister of Safety in the province. There's a real need, I believe, in the context that there's a sad run-up to the events in this matter. Jocelyn grew up in a society as was described by Mr. Peterson, the social worker that provided the pre-sentence reports to the court. That was riddled with social problems, and it was evident in this case criminality in the sense of drug distribution and the effects that has on the community. The evidence indicated that Ms. Smith in particular was in the need of social services throughout for a prolonged period. And I wonder when her grandmother complained in 2016 to the Department of Social Development in the need for a protection order, what access did she have? When Ms. Smith in particular sought the support of services that is rendered both through the Department of Social Development as well as in the Magistrates' Court, we failed. I started the judgment on the merits by referring to the place of a child in a village and in a community. And when I impose a sentence on the accused today, I have to act in the interest of the community and in protection of the rights of individuals in that community, and specifically with reference to the charges in this case, the rights of children. It's important when one look at the charges underlying the sentence that I have to impose, that act is aimed at protecting the vulnerable within society. And it aims to restore and enforce the human dignity of individuals. So I hope that when we deal with matters like these, that we take it serious. Having said that, I am aware and conscious of the fact that this is the most difficult part of a criminal case. Because I'm called upon as a judicial officer, but firstly, as a human being, to pass judgment on the liberty and the deprivation thereof of other human beings. I was referred to a number of authorities during argument in this case, and was exposed to many more in a lengthy stint of judicial service. I do not propose today to refer unnecessarily to legal precedent unless it's absolutely necessary. Because the judgment is not aimed at the textbooks and the academia and our understanding of sentence in a criminal court, but rather it should be focused so that the accused person knows what were the considerations for their ultimate fate, and that the broader community can understand the meaning of and the purpose of that sentence. I was constantly referred to the appellate division case, as it then was, in the State versus Zin. We had a long debate yesterday about how the trits in Zin and the element of mercy interplay in the determination of an appropriate sentence. I was also referred to the judgment of Corporate J.A., as he then was, in the State versus Rabi in 1975. And what was apparent in the debate yesterday was that it has a long history of how caution was warned of by writers for centuries of how judges should approach a sentence. I deem it necessary to quote from the case of State versus Rabi in the words of Corbett J.A., as he then was, because this should be a guiding factor for myself in considering the facts and circumstances that I shall turn to shortly. He said, and I quote, "A judicial officer should not approach punishment in a spirit of anger, because, being human, that will make it difficult for him to achieve that delicate balance between the crime, the criminal, and the interests of society, which his task and the objects of punishment demand of him. Nor should he strive after severity, nor, on the other hand, surrender to misplaced pity. While not flinching from firmness, where firmness is called for, he should approach his task with a humane and compassionate understanding of human frailties and the pressures of society which contribute to criminality. It is in the context of this attitude of mind that I see mercy as an element in the determination of the appropriate punishment in the light of all the circumstances of the particular case. It is the duty of the court to balance all the circumstances applicable and to blend that with a measure of mercy in arriving at an appropriate sentence in the discretion of the trial court. I will not repeat all the facts and circumstances and factors in this judgment on sentence. That does not mean I have not taken it into account. I will take into account the facts of the case on the merits, as well as all the evidence presented to the court by the witnesses that testified on sentence, as well as the submissions made from the bar, and more particularly insofar as it relates to Mr. Fenrain, the further affidavits that were handed up yesterday. Now I need to turn to address Mr. Apollus, Mr. Fenrain, and Ms. Smith so that they understand how I arrive at the sentence that I will ultimately impose. So normally, in a judgment, the judgment is delivered in the third person, whereas I believe it's appropriate when a court imposes sentence that the court address the accused. So I will take into account various factors that I need to balance. In no particular order and no order of importance, they are the circumstances of the person to be sentenced, Mr. Apollus, Mr. Fenrain, and Ms. Smith, the offense, and I shall deal with that in some detail, the interest of the community, and important, the purpose of the sentence. Now let me start with the last part first. There is an outcry by the community for retribution. Yes, it is part of the purpose of sentence, because those that harm society must pay for their deeds. And we do that through a system of laws and different types of punishment, therefore. But having said that, it must also serve an important purpose of deterring the individuals, yourselves, of reoffending, but also generally deter others that would dare to undermine the moral values of society. And there are cases where retribution and deterrence come to the fore much stronger than the other purposes of sentence. I have been asked in argument that I must focus on rehabilitation as one of the purposes of sentence. I'm of the view that there are particular types of cases and the circumstances of those cases where rehabilitation and the potential rehabilitation of an offender is placed on the back burner. We were fortunate in this particular case that we had comprehensive reports from Mr. Peterson insofar as it relates to yourself, Mr. Apollus, Mr. Fenrain, and Ms. Smith. I shall therefore turn to those circumstances as placed before the court. I pause to note the circumstances under which these reports were produced. It is important that a court, in approaching a sentence and obtaining the necessary information and evidence, act proactively. Because ultimately, as I've indicated at the outset, it is the court's duty to ensure that a fair and a just sentence is imposed. It is for that reason that I requested the pre-sentence reports, which was facilitated through the Department of Social Development in the province, for which I am grateful. Under normal circumstances, courts are requested to grant no less than 6 weeks for these type of reports. I gave them a much shorter timeline. And when it seemed that it was not going to be delivered on time, I exerted some pressure and they delivered. I indicated in open court the other day, from Saturday past, it was all hands on deck. And despite the unfounded criticism that was raised against Mr. Peterson in this court by counsel for the defense, I need to say that over many years, This was one of the most comprehensive reports I've seen. And the diligence and the clarity of thought that went into the reports is commendable. I found Mr. Peterson to be a reliable servant of the people in the manner in which he prepared these reports and presented them to the court. I hope that this type of service is available to all at all times. So, Mr. Apollus, I've noted that you had two brushes with the law in the past. However, I'm not going to place any emphasis on those for purposes of sentence in this matter. Thank you. I commented in argument to Mr. Harmse yesterday that I gather from the report that you come from a good home. You had opportunities to progress in life, but you chose a different path. By becoming involved in substance abuse. That changed the trajectory that you could have been on. You're the father of an 11-year-old daughter, and you acted as a father figure to Jocelyn and to the other two children of Miss Smith. I shall return later on in this judgment to that fatherly role insofar as it relates to Jocelyn. Doesn't seem as if you were gainfully employed for any substantial period and were to a great extent reliant on Miss Smith for your subsistence. What is worrying in your personal circumstances is the attitude you displayed as described by Mr. Peterson. Doesn't seem that you have shown any remorse nor concern about the whereabouts of Jocelyn. Instead, you persisted in twisting the truth even on the eve of this sentencing. In your personal circumstances, I do not find any mitigating factors. Mr. Fenrain was described by Mr. Peterson as a menace to society. Had a difficult upbringing where your late father, spent long periods away from home because of work commitments. It was a home that was affected by excessive alcohol use. Although your mother was the strong person that cared. Similarly to Mr. Apollus, it seems that you had the opportunity from the home to live a decent life. But unlike Mr. Apollus and Ms. Smith, over and above the drug use and abuse thereof, you chose a life of crime. I do not agree with the submissions that you have rehabilitated. You had multiple brushes with the law for robbery, which was violent offenses. Robbery in itself is an offense of violence. Then you also committed housebreaking. I will not pay much attention to the drug charge. But you were given the opportunity to have correctional supervision and the opportunity to rehabilitate within society, which opportunity you squandered by even not complying with your conditions and had to serve an extra 407 days on a parole violation. I expected a person that have gone through circumstances like yourself, whose father was murdered when you were at a young age, to realize the consequences not only on yourself, but on broader society when families are affected and afflicted by these type of circumstances. Your attitude in this court showed of one that doesn't care. But not only in the court. When Mr. Peterson inquired about your attitude towards the disappearance of Jocelyn, you made it very clear by saying you simply don't care. You yourself a father of a young daughter, currently 4 years old. You have shown absolutely no remorse and no concern expressed in your own words, and in your personal circumstances, I can find no mitigating circumstances. Ms. Smith, according to the undisputed evidence of Mr. Peterson, from information gathered through the collateral sources, family members that he interviewed, as well as the victim impact statement presented yesterday by your mother, is portrayed as a person that's manipulative and manipulate the facts as it suits you. Went as far as to blame your parents for your conduct in this matter. The evidence presented as to the disappearance of your own daughter was clear. Besides, on one occasion earlier and yesterday, I saw no indication of remorse. But it didn't start there, because we know from the 19th of February 2024, the lack of concern. Yes, I have to take into account that you have 2 other minor children. But fortunately, they are being cared for currently. So the caution that I have to take when imposing a term of imprisonment on a mother and a caregiver, as was expressed by the case of M in the Constitutional Court, bears less weight. Mr. Peterson have, however, also indicated that steps should be, and we heard in the main trial that steps have been taken to ensure for the care of the 2 minor children. I gather from the evidence of Mr. Peterson and the victim impact statement from your mother that you were given all the opportunities. Yes, you were born under difficult circumstances, but you were given the opportunity through your grandparents that cared for you to have a stable life. You, unlike Mr. Apollus and Mr. Fenrain, that did not fare that well at school, you matriculated. In the victim impact statement from your mother, it was clear that they wanted to assist you even after the onset of the drug use and abuse. You in a threatening way pushed that helping hand away. Up till now, I've not seen remorse. So in the personal circumstances alone, I do not find any mitigating circumstances. Now the prosecutor will argue, and have argued, that having found that, the law is clear. If there's a prescribed sentence and there's no substantial circumstances, as I've indicated, that is compelling, that must be the end of the inquiry on the face of it. It's not that simple, because sentence still remains the discretion of the court, and the approach must be that you cannot only focus on the one element. Everything has to be determined holistically, and a balance must be struck. I'm going to start with reference to the prescribed sentences. By indicating that the inquiry must be that the prescribed sentence must be fair and just. If not, the court would be moved to impose a lesser sentence. So I do not deem the prescribed minimum sentence as the only guiding factor in determining the sentence. Let me turn to the next issue, which is the offense. I don't need to stress the seriousness thereof. On count 2, you were convicted of kidnapping. Kidnapping of a 6-year-old child, having the effect of depriving her of a freedom of movement and her liberty. Yes, often one would look at whether there was violence involved or the circumstances that would have harsh effects on the victim. It was argued on behalf of the defense that there's no evidence before the court that Jocelyn suffered any harm. There's no merit in such an argument. It must follow by depriving somebody of their liberty and their freedom of movement. It cannot go without at least emotional harm. This brings me to count number 1. The purpose of the act is particularly aimed at the exploitation of a human being for all sorts of purposes. In the particular case, Mr. Apollus and Ms. Smith were in a parental relationship with Jocelyn. I want to remind you of the facts of this offense. Ms. Smith indicated in August 2023 to Mr. Kutsia that she was unhappy in her home. She wanted to get rid of her child so that you and Mr. Apollus could have a better life. How callous is that? I'm reminding you, I'm speaking of the offense. Then there was the interventions which I cannot ignore during the period, Ms. Smith, that you had to go to the rehabilitation center on 2 occasions. First one was when Jocelyn was a baby. Andrew's family took care of her. And I'm fast forwarding to the victim impact statements that we had. And I will return to it again and remind you constantly of it. On the day before, the 19th, being the 18th of February, the discussions took place after an incident that had upset you. And that was the alleged charge of the chicken theft that somebody dared, in your view, to lay against Mr. Apollus. Because you expressed the views that you're going to expose the complainant for daring to name him as a suspect. That led to a heated argument between yourself and Mr. Apollus. Eventually, Jocelyn being dragged towards the house. An independent witness came to tell us that. That conduct seems not to have been an isolated incident, because I remind you of the evidence of Mr. Peterson, of what the collateral sources had told him. And this went unchallenged of your actions towards her. That's when the discussion took place. According to Mr. Apollus, the motivating factor was you again putting the blame on others for treating your child as a commodity and selling her off. Miss Lombard and Mr. Fenrain went along. Both of them parents of small children. Mr. Fenrain, your daughter would have been 3 years old or younger if she's 4 now. Then the plan are being put in place. I pause to remind you, I'm talking about the offense. Next day, for 20,000 rand, Jocelyn is sold. Nobody knows where she is. The victim in this type of offense and the treatment of the victim of some of the factors that the Act says I must take into account. And I said at the outset, I'm not necessarily going to tabulate them, because I want you to understand the seriousness of the offense. Mr. Apollus tells us that on the morning of the 19th, he fed Jocelyn. He cared for her, he says, looks her in the eye and sells her. And Mr. Apollus, then you sit there and you say nothing. This is the offense. Betraying the trust that she must have placed in you, Mr. Apollus, as a parent, although not her biological father. and you, Miss Smith, as the one that gave birth to her. And you, Mr. Fenrain, being that good friend and the father of a small child. Turning back to the offense itself, and the effect it has on the community, we've heard, and I've heard, the victim impact statement of Ms. Olivier. Jocelyn was a child in the community. We heard how she would go to some of the houses on the evidence presented here, including Ms. Olivier, and how she would sit at that table. Ms. Lombard, and I am going to deal with her situation in a different hearing, also looked Jocelyn in the eye, gave her something to eat, and did nothing to protect her. The society and the community of Saldanha was torn apart. We heard about the extensive searches that took place, and a victim, because the broader community are victims, saying to me through the statement yesterday, I still cannot wear the clothes I wore when we searched. We're 15 months in. We heard in the evidence on the merits trial that people are still searching. We heard about people from all over that came, and the resources employed. But the community was fractured by the conduct of the three of you. Ms. Mart speaks on behalf of her children, she says. And sometimes she refers to them as her learners. In her evidence in the merits trial, she referred to the person who called her as one of my mothers, referring to a mother of a child in her class. We saw the tree. We saw the fingerprints of those young kids who would now be in grade 2. And the missing one. We heard the evidence of how a community has become more concerned that the children or their children doesn't go missing. Ms. Mart tells us that it became more of the norm that parents would drop and fetch their children because they feel unsafe. That's the effect your crime has had on the community. Ms. Daniels, I apologize that I have to single you out. but I've heard you. When your son, Miss Smith, goes to school or rugby practice, your mother doesn't know if he's just a wee bit late, how to deal with it. The extent that we fortunately saw people uniting and rallying in the defense of children. And if there's one positive that have come out of this case, is what I saw by having the fortunate opportunity to serve, in this case, in this place, of how disciplined a community can be and how united they can be in the defense of the dignity of the community. Now, because the community has an interest in the offense, they have certain demands and they have certain outcries. I'm sure there are many that would ask for a sentence that would be inhumane. That's why we did away with it. Because they don't see even a life imprisonment as enough punishment for the harm done to the community. But then I remind myself on what I read out to you earlier in this judgment. I spoke of the two aspects of the purpose of the sentence. And I spoke of how one should balance these factors. I tried to explain to you how your personal circumstances and the offense and the interest of society interacts in the determination of the sentence. And how I caution myself of trying to be compassionate, to be humane, to show mercy, not to have anger, not to have the anger of the community affect me to the extent that I act not in the interest of the community, but rather adhere to the wishes of the community. I try to stay away from that. I've referred to the minimum sentences and the prescribed sentences. And yes, if I heed the request of the prosecution, I should impose life imprisonment. Let me think of the options in explaining to you. It's clear that a sentence of imprisonment is the only appropriate sentence. The question is just how long. You are all three relatively young. And yes, one of the purposes of a sentence is to rehabilitate the offender. And I'm well aware that there's always that potential. How do you balance the interest of society and your own prospects of rehabilitation when somebody commits such a heinous crime? I'm of the view that even if I was not bound by a prescribed sentence, I would still have considered the harshest sentence I could impose. Because to my mind, balancing all these factors and circumstances that I've indicated to you, it would indicate your moral blameworthiness. And saying that, I do not forget that at the time of the commission of the offenses, you were using and have been using substances that could have had an effect. But it's no excuse. Because if it was a factor that affected and led you to the commission of the offenses, you had the opportunity to tell me. But I didn't think straight at the time because I was under the influence. You simply didn't do that. In fact, it seemed through the course of this trial that you, Mr. Fenrain, and Ms. Smith, you found it amusing. At one stage I indicated to you that when certain witnesses were testifying, I don't see the captain here today, you were celebrating. Didn't take it serious. There's nothing that I can find that is redeeming and deserving of a lesser sentence than the harshest I can impose. I'm well aware that the second charge was part of the whole planning. And I need to temper the effect of that sentence. Before I announce the sentences in this matter, the prosecutor requested me that I should order that your names be entered into the National Child Protection Register. In the circumstances of this case, it is an order I'm going to make. Lastly, I I indicated in the merits trial my disappointment as to the proper compliance with the Poker Tip Act by the administrative systems to be put in place. I would urge the government role players to ensure that it is done rather sooner than later, because it is aimed at protecting the vulnerable and achieving the objectives of the Act. I cannot make an order because I don't have sufficient detail. Mr. Fenrain has already been declared unfit to possess a firearm. In considering that result for Mr. Smith and Ms. Apollus, I need not make an order because of the sentence I will impose. There's no prescribed sentence for the kidnapping charge because of the severity of the facts of the kidnapping as it relates to a minor child. I'm of the view that even for that charge, a long-term imprisonment should be imposed. So for the reasons that I've expressed, and I hope you understood, I'm going to impose the sentences now. May you stand. Mr. Apollus and Mr. Fenrain and Ms. Smith, I'm going to announce the sentences at the same time because your sentences are the same. I'm not going to draw any distinction, even though Mr. Fenrain has previous convictions and you, Mr. Apollus and Ms. Smith, does not have. On the human trafficking charge, you are sentenced to life imprisonment. On the kidnapping charge, you are sentenced to 10 years imprisonment. Because I've imposed life imprisonment, there is no need for me to rule on the concurrency of the sentences, because by operation of law, it will be served concurrently. Mr. Apollus, do you understand that? Mr. Fenrain, do you understand? Ms. Smith, do you understand? Thank you. You may be seated. I'm also ordering for the entry of your names into the National Child Protection Register. The court will adjourn.
Okay, guys. You heard it. The judge have spoken, and the aim was to give you a perspective as to what happened in court. So let's talk about life imprisonment now. What is life imprisonment? Well, I did a bit of digging, and this is what I found. In South African law, a life sentence is the most severe form of punishment that can be imposed. It is an indeterminate sentence, meaning it does not have fixed end date and may last for the remainder of the offender's life. However, it is crucial to understand that life imprisonment in South African does not necessarily mean spending the rest of one's natural life behind bars. as there is a possibility of parole. Now, I need to give you this one. Listen. Abolishment of the death penalty and the rise of life sentences in South Africa, following a constitutional court landmark ruling, which was in S versus Makanye, State versus Makanye in 1995. The death penalty was abolished in South Africa. As a result, life imprisonment became the harshest sentence available. Okay. Now you say, but then what type of offense that one could be sentenced to life imprisonment? Here is the following. Purpose of application: life sentences are reserved for the most serious crimes, reflecting their gravity and need to protect society. Common offense that carries a life sentence include: 1, premeditated murder; 2, gang rape or serial rape; 3, rape involving a minor under 16, mentally disabled victim, or when the rapist knew they were HIV positive; 4, certain aggravated robberies and hijacking, including aircraft hijacking; 5, act of terrorism, human trafficking, and other crimes deemed extreme by the court. Okay? And then again, mandatory life imprisonment. This is imposed by the law for specific particular heinous offense as outlined in Section 51 of the Criminal Law Amendment Act 105 of 1997. In these cases, judges generally has no discretion, must impose a life sentence unless substantial or compelling circumstances exist to justify deviation. Discretion: life imprisonment. In other serious cases, a judge may impose a life sentence at their discretion. They will consider various factors, including the nature and the seriousness of the offense, the offender's personal circumstances, and the broader public interest. Parole eligibility for the life sentences. While life sentence is indeterminate, it does not mean incarceration until death. The possibility of parole is key aspect that prevent it from being considered cruel, inhumane, or degrading punishment. General rule: offenders sentenced to life imprisonment on or after the 1st of October 2004 generally became eligible for consideration for parole after serving 25 years of their sentences. But wait, I'm coming, I'm going to give you something. Pre-2004 sentences, new legislation in 2012 stated that prisoners who received life sentence before 2004 could apply for parole after serving at least 13 and a half months for their 13 years and 4 months for their life sentence. This was further adjusted by court ruling and remission. Age factor: exceptional cases, inmate over the age of 65 may be considered for parole after serving 15 years of their sentence. Parole processes: parole is not automatic, right, but a determination made by the Correctional Supervision and Parole Board. Parole Board. The board considered various factors, including the seriousness of the crime, length of the sentence, the offender's behavior while incarcerated, and their rehabilitation efforts, their support structure outside of prison. Right, what is important that I needed to read? I think that's key. That is key. I think I have read the most important part in this thing. I'm not saying what I'm reading or what I've just read to your hearing is accurate reflection of everything. You may want to consider doing your own research as well, but my responsibility was to do few things and show you that, okay, this is what I'm getting. I'm going to be reading your comments soon, guys. Now, this is about you, obviously. When everything was said and done, lawyers were asked if they will appeal the sentence. They then said that they will appeal the sentence, especially speaking on behalf of Fenrain. Confirmed that they will be appealing the conviction and the sentence. And then police as well, they've confirmed that they are still searching for Jocelyn Smith. So I will, in fact, before I read your comment, let's start here from the police.
Yes, we will not rest until we found what happened to Jocelyn. We are continuing day and night looking for Jocelyn, and we're still appealing to everybody that let's work together to find the missing child and all other missing child out there that have not had the opportunity to have a case that brought forward like today. That we stand together as a country, as citizen and community, and all concerned South Africans, also all human beings who are parents and grandparents, that we have to protect our children and the vulnerable.
Commissioner, is the search for Jocelyn leading outside of the country?
We've been outside the country. We are with the Interpol and other policing agencies around the world.
And that's still continuing?
We're still continuing with it. And we hope that one day we will find exactly what happened.
Oh, sorry, guys. Now, okay, let me read your comments again, guys. Let's go. Okay. Okay, Locoretto Maurice, I read your comment. Oh, Mrs. K, hi, Bong San. Thank you. Jablan Zulu, I have a question. Who is Mrs. Natasha or Natasha in Jocelyn's case? She's related to Jocelyn. I think you get an answer there. Anna Mahape, hi, Bongs. Hi to the tribe. Hi, Anna. Evan Lee, thank you, Bongan. Thank you. Righty, Ungakane Oti. What was 25 years after all? When the perpetrator will be eligible for parole after 10 years. Okay, Togozan Makanye Oti. Hi, Bongs. Yes, it was going to be better if we know as to where is the baby child. I concur. Little Melissa Oti, where is the child? They must tell the nation, where is the child? What was done to her? Stella Morato Oti, Natasha is the lady who wanted to adopt Jocelyn. Thank you, Stella. Lionel Oti, why did Kelly hate little Jocelyn so much to the Harapot Act, or to the heinous act, sorry? I hope her continuous will hold her for the rest of her life in jail. KASCVP. Siyabonga Mchal, it can be better if they bring back a child and then get the same sentence. I agree. Sharon Nyanden, I wanted her to rot in jail. She does not show any remorse. I fully concur. Mazita Oti, though she's going to eat for free, no bills for her. Pamela Mola Oti, can they just throw away the key somewhere in the ocean? Hey, Leandra Oti, where is the child, Kelly? What happened to that? What happened to that all? That's all we want to know. Jesus is coming again. Are you ready? The child has been trafficked out of the country. That is why they cannot find her. No wonder they got harsh sentence of life. Belinda, I really pray that someday, I really pray that someday to come, Kelly will come to her senses and tell the world what happened to the child. That will be, I think that will be a breakthrough in most of our prayers, Belinda, look, yeah, Belinda Otiga Judge Ndim looks emotional, and I am right, bongs. Yeah, yo. At some point, I kind of felt like, but as a human being, Nama would have been emotional, eh? Yeah, but I saw that too, eh? Jesus is coming again. Are you ready? Says the judge was fair. He said, if the death penalty was there, then he will have gone that route. However, we do not have Oh, Lily Melissa, please, no parole. Which child will be next to sell as they will be making up economy loss? Economy lost? No ways. No parole. Save the children, please. Magna Brits, thanks for the program. We love you. Thank you, Magna. Right, thank you very much. Guys, today, personally, it was just to reflect on everything that have happened so far as this case is concerned. One, I have never been convinced by Kelly Smith that she was remorseful. Even, is it yesterday, when she was crying, I was not convinced that she's crying because because maybe she was being remorseful. I think, or at least it's my opinion, she got triggered by everything and she realized the mess. Thus, she was crying, but it was not necessarily out of remorse. Yeah, that's for me. Again, for Mr. Fenrain, for me, I've never been convinced about Mr. Fenrain. Honestly, I've never been convinced about that man. Guys, please like the live stream. I've never been convinced about Mr. Fenrain. I don't think that man really, I don't think that man was ever, what's the right word? Remorseful in this process. I don't think so. As for Apollus, when it comes to Apollus, somehow I thought that maybe the judge was going to be a little bit lenient because when it comes to Apollus, I kind of felt like Apollus was somehow remorseful, or there was a sense of guilt so far as Apollus is concerned. But then you look at the type of crime. One thing that this whole case have done, to me at least, was to highlight the existence of this type of criminality. Prior to this case, I wouldn't have even thought that a woman will sell her own child. I wouldn't have thought about it. It was only because of this case that I began doing my research, only to find that this crime there's a rise on this crime. So it has helped me to actually understand that there's this type of a crime that is happening that we are not paying attention to. Furthermore, it has also said a lot to me as a human being. It has taught me a lot of things. One of them is I now understand why, for instance, if police, let's say a child die or a child go missing, I now understand why police will have to investigate everybody, including the victims who, in that case, could be the parents. I now understand. This have taught me that police have always been on point to investigate and look everybody. Imagine in this case if police had said that we are not going to look at Kelly Smith because we just naturally believe that she wouldn't have done that. We wouldn't have been where we are today. So I now understand. I remember there was a complaint when Patrick Shai died and the wife was being investigated too, I remember she complained about it on media. But now, looking at this, you now get to understand why everybody has to be investigated. I now understand. Another thing that I must say, we've been complaining about competency from the state, specifically the police. But in this case, I have zero complaint so far as the police are concerned. This is the time where we have to congratulate the police for doing their work. And for that, let us all congratulate the police who were, or all of them, who were involved in this case of Jocelyn Smith. Let us all congratulate them for the work that they did up to so far. As you have heard them, it's not the end of the road for them. They will continue doing the investigation. I'm just hoping and wishing that whatever investigation that they are doing, I'm hoping and praying that it yields some sort of closure. But furthermore, I would also like us to reflect as well in terms of the state prosecutor. Is it Mrs. or Miss? I think it's Mrs. Swanepoel, Mrs. Zelda Swanepoel. One thing that we must do as humanity or as people, sometimes when people are doing something or are doing a right thing in society, we don't tell them that they are doing, whatever they are doing is right. We wait until they are wrong, then we complain. But that doesn't build people. It rather destroys them. In this case, I want us to also congratulate Mrs. Zelda Swanepoel, the state prosecutor. One, you could tell that, you know what, she's in it wholeheartedly. When she speaks, when you listen to her body language, when you listen to her voice, when you were looking at her body language, she was convincing. Man, I got a sense that she wants this justice by fire, by force. And looking from a distance, I was very much convinced that she's in it and she mean it. Another thing that I want us to look at is this, the readiness, the preparedness, how she, just the preparedness in this case. I'm very pleased with how she was prepared. Articulation. I'm very pleased with the work done by the state prosecutor. The judge. Judge Erasmus. I've learned a lot in this trial, or on this trial. I've been doing the Senzo Meyiwa trial for a while. There are things that I actually got rebuked on that I did not understand them properly. This case have taught me that. But also the behavior of Judge Erasmus in this case is commendable. Number one, let's look at his involvement in this case. He was not there as a statue, just listening and watching. No. He was not there just as an umpire, but he was a participant. Let's focus on not just him participating, but the mannerism, the way in which he conducted himself in this trial. On the Senzo Meyiwa trial, when it first began, Judge Ratamokwatleng read a case, it's R versus Hepworth. In that case, it was the recommendation was that the judge must participate in this, must enter the arena. So we've had a problem with how the judge in the Senzo Meyiwa case he is entering the arena. But when I look at the conduct of Judge Erasmus, I have zero complaint, because whenever he asked questions, whenever he descended into the arena, and whenever he asked questions, it was always relevant. Not to mention his tone. it commands dignity, not to mention his demeanor. It commands dignity, the way in which he's talking to you. Yo man, that judge have shown us, as demonstrated to us, the reason why we need to respect judges. He has been there to just show us that there are judges that do their work in a manner that demand respect from us. For that, I shall forever be grateful to have watched a case where a judge behaved, very much behaved, very disciplined. I shall be forever grateful because I'm continuously following a case where I am displeased with the behavior of the judge, the behavior of the state prosecutors, the behavior of police in that case. But the Jocelyn Smith trial has been an epitome of excellency. Excellency from the police, excellency from the state prosecutors, excellency from the judges. But not to mention the community. This is a case that was very emotional. People could have done a lot of things despite police being there. But the community there behaved and showed faith on the justice. That is something I have learned as well. I don't know about you. What have you learned? Personally, I've learned all of those things. I have learned that despite my grievances about the Senzo Mayiwa trial, but there are judges that still behave, and there are state prosecutors that still behave, and police that are behaving very well, disciplined. And that will forever be a lesson learned in a right way, forever be appreciative of the things that I've seen on that trial. Those are some of the things. But as for Kelly Smith, it has opened this thing in my mind that there exists a possibility that you might have a child with somebody who might decide that they want to commodify the child and sell a child. It has taught me something that I never thought I would live in such a time. As a Christian, I read a verse or verses in the book of 2 Timothy chapter 3. It began by saying, perilous. In fact, I would love to read this because it is so sad. But before I get there was a time in history where Israelites got to the point of eating their own children. I never thought I will exist in such a time. But it is true what they said then, especially in the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 9, where it says, there's nothing new under the sun. That which was is that which is. And that which is that which was. I have learned that we are living in end times indeed, where people are becoming cruel. People are reaching a level where you don't trust men as a woman, do you? You don't. We don't trust women as men, because also there is this rise in this crime of where women are selling men, or they date you, they put you in these policies, and then they hire hitmen to come and take your life. There's that rise in such crimes that are mostly committed by females. The selling of children, the market that has been opened. I never thought I would exist in a time where you can easily, just like that, a child is sold. I never thought I would exist in such a time. But there am I today. I live and I exist in a time where anything and everything is possible. As I promised you, I want to say this because today we are we are at the end of everything. Yeah. And I want to read this. I'm going to read this in the King James Version. It says, 2 Timothy 3, verse 1, it says, "This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemous, disobedient to parent, and unthankful and unholy. 3, without natural affection, trace breakers, false accusers, incompetent, incontent, fierce anger, despisers of those that are good, traitors, hey, my daughter, handy, high-minded, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such it says shun." But please focus on the fact that it says, perilous time shall come in the last days. We are indeed living in those days. I never thought that I will see such. I'm hoping and wishing, but this have opened an avenue. Today I know, as a matter of fact, that this is happening. I would have loved, just according to me, I would have loved to think that this is the last time I will ever have to hear about such a case. Sometimes we understand when an older person dies, or when something bad happens to an older person. Not that we love it, but a child. When it comes to a child, it's worse because we think that there's more future. There's more. A child stands a chance of becoming a president, a CEO, a what. So you wouldn't want to see anything, any bad thing happening to a child. There we are today. I stand before you having witnessed a horrible crime where adults, humans who are adults, some of them have got children, yet they decide to sell a young child. Worst part, this annoys me the most. You sold this child for just a lousy 20,000. A money that you can get a job somewhere, you earn it in a month. This is super annoying because the more I think about how much the value that they put on Jocelyn Smith is super annoying. Just think about it, right? Think about it this way. There are people in this country who are earning in a month 25,000 rand. 25,000 rand, right? Jocelyn Smith was sold at somewhere around 20,000 rand. You are simply saying, hey, Jocelyn Smith is valued far less than. Okay, hear me out. Listen to this. I'm about to show you something. Listen to what I'm about to say. When I listen to this case, the Jocelyn Smith case, hey guys, I wanna demonstrate something before all of you. Just give me a minute. I wanna take something. Listen to what I'm about to show you. As I was watching this case, I actually learned something new. That the life of Jocelyn Smith, the value of Jocelyn Smith's life is equals to this camera, if not a little bit above. This camera, this is Canon R50. This is the camera that I'm using as of me recording this, because I've got, more than one of these cameras. This camera, I bought this thing, it cost me around 15,800 when I bought this thing. I still have the receipts. So when you look at the life of Jocelyn Smith, I'm showing you how bad this thing is. I'm going to have to say Jocelyn Smith was worth this camera, plus I have a laptop that side, which I bought it at 5,500. So Jocelyn Smith's life was worth this camera plus the laptop. That was Jocelyn Smith's life. Can you think about it? Just think about it. Jocelyn Smith's life was valued somewhere around the value of a Toyota Tez. Can you imagine? Today we are talking about a human being being valued close to a old second-hand car. Because a Toyota Tez, you can get it around 20,000, 25,000 rand. That was the value of a human being by the name of Jocelyn Smith. How drunk must you be to think that a human life, or to devalue human beings to such an extent that you sell a human being at the price of this camera? Do you see? And guys, I want to make it worse. I want to show you something. Okay. When you look, just think about it. That's why I'm saying this case is so personal. That's why I'm saying this case is so personal. Think about it. I've just shown you now that Jocelyn Smith is worth this camera. The life of Jocelyn Smith, to those who are using Samsung Galaxy S24, in South Africa, it is valued around, when I bought mine, it was around 30-something thousand. So it went down a bit. So it's some. So tell me, just think about this insanity. Jocelyn Smith was worth, the worth of that child was less than my Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Can you think about it for a moment? That is what humanity have become. We commodify human beings, then devalue human beings in the process. This is so humiliating when I think about the two aspects here. You commodify that child, but then devalue that child, such that you were willing to sell her at 20,000 rand, lousy 20,000 rand, a money that you can get a job somewhere and you earn in a month, and you work there for 5 years, you accumulate more. You are saying your child is worth 1 month of labor. This is me trying to show you this insanity. This is super insane. This is super insane, where we commodify people but also devalue them so we can make sale of a human being. That is what I've just witnessed. And I'm trying to make sense by using things that are very close to you. To say a human being was sold at the price of a smartphone, lesser than some smartphones. Probably the value of Jocelyn Smith was lesser than iPhone 16 Pro Max. Can you imagine putting a life of a human being with a thing, and you put them in the same scale, and a material thing is more expensive than a human life? What has happened to us where we think that a human being, a life of a human being, is worth less than a smartphone? This is me trying to be as relevant as possible. Can you imagine? Other people can lose even a car. Other people can lose even their house to save a life. Somebody saying, no, that thing is not valued. Cannot lose my house. Cannot lose my cell phone. I know a man who surrendered when there was a house breaking. He could have fought with these people, but for the sake of the safety of the family, he said, I had to allow them to break my things in my house so that these people can be safe. Because I don't know what would have happened had I chose to fight them. I am saying, what has happened to us? What is happening to our mind? Have we not reached a level of insanity that things are valued above human beings? the value of a human being is worth way, way less. Hey guys, I don't know what to say. I have made so many examples, but just think about it. The more you think about it, it's the more you realize that we are so broken as human beings. We are so rotten that a life of a human being is valued. Yo guys, you can't get a good car at the price of 20,000 rand. You can't. You can't. You need somewhere around 100,000 rand to get a good car. But the life of Jocelyn Smith was worth a broken car. That was the value of a child. Yay. What happened to us? What happened to morality? What happened to mother's instinct? What happens to mother's love? What happens to mothers and naturers? What happens to all these nice words? What happens to, I watch a movie about Boko Haram where a certain lady, sorry guys, can I just get a tissue? Sorry guys, I'm sorry. I watch a movie where a lady had to sacrifice her life so she will not be raped. So these people, it was about Boko Haram, so they could not rape these young girls, but rather violate her. I thought that was a bit of lesson, yes. But today we can just rather sacrifice our children even when there is not even something that is pushing us to that level. What is happening to us? Are we seeing the generation of TikTok, guys? The generation of substance that cannot be named. Parents who, I don't know, man. I can speak until the next day, but I'm so upset. And to those who doesn't understand, Jocelyn Smith was sold at a price of less than a smartphone that I use. I'm using Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. When I bought that smartphone, it was around 30,000 rand. When I bought the smartphone last year, 2024. The value of that child is far lesser than my smartphone. Probably the value of that child is somewhere between my iPhone. A value of a human being that is close to my camera. In closing, I once read something, and now it is making a lot of sense. I'm going to tell you two stories. So somebody once demonstrated this and said, God has sent people to Tarshish and Nineveh, and God has sent people to Nineveh, and people went to Tarshish, and that thing, that person was calling it a reverse psychology. That God says 10 right to 10 left, it's reverse psychology. And I read this book. This is where we are. So it was said that in one, I'm not sure whether it's a fiction or what, but hear the moral of the story. In Mexico, thieves broke into a supermarket by night. Listen to this smart thief. When they got into a supermarket, what they did was to swap the prices. Now listen to this. I want to demonstrate something. This is a mouse that this is a wireless one. So you probably buy this thing at 200 rand. This is a camera, Canon R50. I bought it at 15,800. So when the thieves broke into this supermarket by night, they took a price for this mouse and placed it on a camera of 15,000 rand. So in other words, a camera of 15,000 rand was priced at 200 rand. A mouse of 200 rand was priced at 15,800. What they did here was not to steal, but rather swap the prices. So they went there by night, broke into the supermarket, and they swapped the prices. Then smart thieves did not steal anything, left everything, went home. Tomorrow morning, they went back to that same supermarket. They bought things, expensive things at a cheaper price. It has been said that that supermarket operated for almost 3 weeks without noticing the changes, because everything looks, what is it called? Balance sheet. Everything was balanced until a specific or a certain client brought it to the attention of the management that, no, man, how come this is less expensive? This is super expensive. This does not make sense. That is when they actually were made aware that actually, yeah, most of the prices have been swapped around. Listen to what I'm about to say. As humanity, we have gotten to a point where we say right is wrong and wrong is right. We are in the business of swapping things around. The things that we're supposed to be doing are the things that we're not doing. The things that we are not supposed to be doing are the things that we are doing. The things that we're supposed to value are the things that we are not valuing. The things that we are not supposed to be valuing are the things that we are valuing. That is why we degrade, or that is why we commodify and degrade human beings and devalue them in the process, because we pay attention to things, wrong things. We will get to this point where we sell human beings at the cheapest price. For us, or for you and I, to everybody listening to the voice or the sound of my voice, what I'm simply saying is, for us to fix this situation, we've got to come to a realization that what went wrong is our priorities in life. From what I know, people will rather sleep on the street as a family than to sell one another. But we've gotten to a point where we will rather sell one of us for our survival. Do you see where I'm going? It speaks about the fact that, what we are seeing, what we saw from this case, it's a reflection of certain things in society. The fact that there are people in society that don't want to work, they want other people to work for them. All that they do, they think that they are special, that they're not supposed to contribute anything except sex. No, guys. We've got to come to a point where we realize that there's something wrong with the thing that we are valuing. There are people in life who doesn't want to work. All that they want to do is to take your life, get paid for taking your life. They are called hitmen. What happened to us? It results in things like this where we start selling our own children. But it has to do with the priorities. Priorities in lives have been swapped around. The things we're supposed to be prioritizing are the things that we are not prioritizing. The things that we are not supposed to be prioritizing are the very things that we are prioritizing. That is why a life of a child is worth less than a smartphone. And this is going to will continuously keep happening because priorities have been swapped around, and we will continue to live with the consequences of such unless there is a deliberate effort to correct these things. We cannot continue like this. It is not as business as usual. And I'm saying this with a broken heart. It is not as business as usual, guys. There's something wrong with how we think, how we act, guys, there's everything wrong with us these days. There's literally everything wrong with us. But it looks like we don't know. I'm gonna read this. I came across this, and it captures the moment brilliantly. Because I don't understand what's going on. It upsets me. The story of this Jocelyn Smith, it upsets me that she was commodified and sold. You know, when I think about the price, it also makes me mad. It makes me mad. When I say this phone, this is Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. I bought this thing around 30,000 Rand. Jocelyn Smith's life was valued less than this phone. Less than this phone. A whole human being was valued less than this thing. Guys, there's something wrong with us. There's something wrong with how we think. There's absolutely, you know, when they say the definition of insanity, it is exactly this thing where human life is worth less than this thing. Yeah, this is a thing. Not a human being, a thing. You will rather lose this thing to save a human being, because a human being's life, you cannot even place a price or on a human being's life. But there we are. Yeah. So it's super annoying. Let me read this. I want to read something to you, because I'm super annoyed about what we saw on this case. This is a case that reflects something. Now, I know some of you might not be Christian, but as a Christian, I once read something like this. Listen to this. I once read a verse in the book of Isaiah chapter 5, verse 20 that says, I'm reading in King James Version. It says, woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, and put darkness, sorry. Hey. Okay, sorry, I'm sorry, guys. It says, let me repeat, woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that puts bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. In other words, they're saying sweet is bitter and bitter is sweet. They're saying the light is darkness and darkness is light. They are saying evil is good and good is evil. All that they do, they are busy swapping things around. All that they live for is just to swap things around. Do you notice that we are there? We are there as human beings. We commodify people. We devalue the things that we're supposed to be valuing. Everything, every path that has been established for us as human beings to walk on, we say, no, this is not the right path. We want to establish our own path. Man, guys, this is so super annoying. Like, for me, this is one thing that it makes me upset. The fact that we have reached such a stage, I'm upset. I'm very, very upset about this. And I know I will never reach the end. I will continue to vent and vent and vent and vent. And thanks to those who are listening. But, you know, let me read your comments and leave. But yeah, that is what has been in my heart concerning this case. This case is very unfortunate. And from the beginning, when I just watched this case, it made me realize, and my friend from the US here, we spoke yesterday, and he was mentioning this thing that it's worse. There's a worse crime that is happening. Guys, no. Let me read your comments and probably leave. Okay, Miss K, or Mrs. K, Uti. 117 people watching, but 65 likes. What's up with you guys? Do your best. In other words, like the stream, good people. Togozan Makanya Uti, this case deserves a woo shame. It took about 15 months since the Little Jocelyn Smith and has been concluded. Togozan Makanya, Rata and his friends must learn from this. I fully concur, guys. Hi, Bongs, I'm late. Dan, how are you late, man? What's the time in the States? Oh, it's 1 o'clock. It's around past 1 now. So why are you late? Because that side, it's afternoon. Yeah. Nonetheless, no, it's fun then. But yeah, guys, that is what has been on my mind. I have nothing further than this. But yeah, thank you for just listening to me venting and venting and venting and venting and venting. This episode was really about the fact that, yeah, we have reached a certain level. We have reached a lowest of the lowest as humanity. I don't know what is happening with us. Something is wrong. There is this deterioration of morals from us as human beings, both men and women. I'm not going to blame children because children are a reflection of us, men and women, adult, youth. Children are a reflection of us. I'm not going to blame children on this. But there's something wrong with us. There's something wrong with our values. There's something wrong, guys. Let me love and leave you here. I shall see you guys on the next. Oh, I needed to read this for you. People voted. About 240 people who voted. When I asked them, are you happy with the outcome? Sentenced to life imprisonment. 85% of you guys says, yes, you are happy. 15% of you guys said, no, you are not happy. I guess it's those people who are saying it would have been better if they brought the child, or at least we know where the child is, or at least we buried the child. It would have been better. But nonetheless, be it as it may, I will need to end the poll because we are now at the end of the live stream. Nonetheless, thank you for listening to my venting. I've been venting and venting and venting. I shall see you guys here on another live stream. We will be doing a different live stream on Sunday. The upcoming Sunday, we will be doing a live stream about Longwe, the impact of Longwe. If he were to testify on the Senzo Mewa trial, wouldn't he end that trial as well, his testimony? Previously, we did Kelly Kumalo, but this time we will be doing Ulongwe on Sunday. So if there's nothing happening in between, I will see you guys Sunday, 7 o'clock, or at least latest past 7, but I will let you know on time. You will see the notification of a upcoming live stream. If nothing happens in between, I will only see you on that day. Oh, I forgot to say this one. Allow me to say, speaking of moral deterioration, I forgot to say this. I reported to you about a young lady that was, today there was a memorial service of that young lady. This young lady goes by the name of Olerato Mohale. I don't know how to pronounce the surname correctly because somebody corrected me and said this is a Tswana surname. So apparently I wasn't pronouncing, or I'm not pronouncing it correctly. That lady was said to be, there was a guy that picked this lady up. It was a date. 2 hours later, this lady was found dead. The guy who was picking this lady picked this lady with the car that was dropped. It was a Polo. The number plates was cloned, and the rest is history. The story broke out around the 26th of May. Today is the 29th. The story broke out around the 26th. The lady was dumped. The lady's body was dumped on the main road, dumped like that, and the Polo disappeared. But today, thanks God, police announced that they have made a breakthrough. They found the Polo with the blood stains. Then they've arrested one person, and they've given us pictures of these individuals that are suspect in this case. They are wanted. If you check on my channel, you will find a video like that. Please watch that video. If you see whatever you see there, the pictures that you will see are the pictures of the suspects that police are looking for. Please help assist the police to get these criminals. And I have faith that they will get them. All that I want to hear is, I'm a man, I've been into date with other women, and you will not like them. What would have resulted in you taking a life of another person? To me, that was not a date. They just went there to take a life, or they had some other ulterior motives. We will be following that case. Should there be any tangible thing, I will also, maybe if there's a need, we'll also do a live stream about that. But we do know that today, one suspect who is the owner of that car was appeared in court today. Now the 3 suspects are on the run. This speaks about moral degeneration in this country. There's this moral decaying that is happening, right? So should there be a need, we'll also do a live stream about that. Yeah, that's it from my side.